final 30 minutes of the To Be Honest conference, and we'll just share a little bit what has happened in the three sessions that ran parallelly. I had the privilege to hop between the sessions, so I have a little bit of an overview, and it was very, very inspiring, I can tell you. Thank you, Jessica. Okay. So we had three sessions today, and the first one was navigating politics as a new group leader and professor. Very inspiring takeaways here. Anna is going to share a little bit in a minute. The second session was a very tangy topic, I believe, and it was also a very intimate group that was dealing with discrimination and power abuse. People were very honest, very open. Maria was leading the session. Welcome, Maria, to the wrap-up session today. And the third topic of today was good mentorship, finding mentors and being a mentor. And the GSO put out the survey beforehand, what is the most important thing for you as a researcher? And I mean, I think you could see that mentorship is right up there. I think maybe even taking place number one. This is why this topic is so important. Okay, so Anna, I would like to start with you, navigating politics as a new group leader, as a professor. What do you say were the findings or maybe overarching themes in your session?
Yeah, so we were a mixed group, not only new professors, but also postdocs and PhD candidates. So first of all, we were talking about what does it even mean navigating politics, right? So basically, it is understanding the system, especially the German system, that has a lot of implicit knowledge required and the rules of the system, and also understanding what your personal fit in the system is, and this according to different stages. So for instance, when you start looking for a position, so you're still a PhD candidate or a postdoc, then you apply for maybe a group leader, a professorship, and then you're in this position. And then, of course, navigating politics, what that means shifts a little bit, and there are different challenges involved. So for all of these topics, I think what was very important was number one, inform yourself, like learn the rules, sort of get the information, and also be proactive. That means talk to people, try to get this implicit knowledge from someone who's already in the system. You know, mentors are great, try to find people who can help you, but also if you're new in the system, maybe you come from abroad and you're an international, or you have been, you know, away for a long time. Anna gave a really good advice and said, well, invite yourself. Just write a nice email, a personalized email, and invite yourself to give a talk, to build that network that you need, and also be visible, because especially when you're applying for professorships or group leader positions, usually it's good when people already have heard of you before or know your name or something like that. So be visible, be proactive, talk to people, be out there. And then what I found very interesting is when we were talking about politics, we were saying, well, it's also about, you know, human relationships. Politics is made by humans. So it's often, you know, about relationships, about listening, about nonviolent communication. And Uli said, I really like that, you know, everybody wants to be loved and recognized. And if you somehow cater to that, that also helps, of course, in politics. So that means, for instance, especially when you're in a university and it's like a big system with like lots of departments and, you know, deans and so on, find allies around yourself. Anna called it the kleine Dienstweg, like a shortcut, basically. Talk to allies, talk to people that are close to you or know about a certain thing, who then can help you to push it on the next level or represent you. So that was very important. Then what I also really liked was being fair and generous, and advised by Uli, because, you know, you're in a competitive system, and yes, there are sharks in the system, but lead by example, be fair yourself and be generous, because then something will come back to you. And then last point I want to make by Anna is, yeah, there is politics. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, there's lots to think about, but focus on the science, focus on what you're good at and what you love. And then things will sort of fall into place, because if you have that goal and know where you're going, then, you know, you find the allies who will be active and so on. So focus on what you love. And that was, I think, a nice, last word, basically.
Thank you so much. That was a really beautiful sum up of what I've heard of dropping into the session a couple of times. One additional thing that came to my mind, which I also found very helpful, was the direct call for action, that as a new group leader or professor, you also continue your advanced education, right? That you should go to management or leadership courses, like you said before, train yourself in non-aggressive communication, for example, and that a course is better than reading a book, because you spend a day, and then if you only walk away with 1-2 things, you can implement them immediately and you will have a return next Monday. That was basically what the speaker said, and I found that very helpful, that you just don't wing it, right? You kind of make it your own. Yes, thank you, Anne. I'll move on to Maria. Dealing with discrimination and power abuse, and this group of viewers, I found that beautifully. You met under the Vegas rule, so there was a lot of gambling. No, there was a lot of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I think what we're going to share out here is just like generalizations. It is not connected to any individual. It was a very beautifully held safe space, and I'm curious what the findings or maybe the overarching themes were in your group, in your.
Yes. Thank you very much for this introduction. And yeah, it was a very intense discussion, and we were in the end running out of time because there was the wish to talk so much more about the topic about power and discrimination. And we also built connection to what Anna already said, and this like finding allies and not giving up and trying it again. These were also things which were shared in our session. And so I put it into the chat over here. So we said it is important to reflect power issues and also to understand our own role and also our own attitude towards power, and how do we see it and how do we act on it, and is it maybe something good to use it to create new ways of leadership in academia. We spoke about safe and brave spaces, so safe spaces where we can share discrimination, and brave spaces where we can also raise awareness about discrimination, sharing stories and case studies, and where people actually start to build their understanding about discrimination. Also, we summarized that it is important to create buddy networks and alliances, so the role of allies, and these are all points made by the people in the room. And also someone said it is not about you, and often it helps to understand that discrimination might be on a systemic level, that it is not on an individual failure, but that it is on a systemic level, and that it is very important to not give up and to search for the right person and to approach this person and to try it again. And also we said that it is very important to know your ombudsperson in your academic system, because this should be the first person to reach out in a private manner under Vega's rule and share your story and your thoughts about discrimination, because we also spoke about the ambivalence of discrimination, and that if you point out discrimination in a public way, that this might be not helpful, but falling back to you. So it's very important to speak to your ombudsperson. I think these were very important points in our session. Thank you
so much, Maria. And one additional thing that also stuck with me from the very beginning was you talked about breaking the chain, right? In the academic system, too often, the way I understood it is in academia, there is kind of this notion suffering is kind of the default or is involved. And so if I suffered, the next generation can also suffer, because why should they have it better than me? Right? And that's kind of a stupidity, because we all will not move forward. And I think Anna said something similar. It's more about only because you suffered doesn't mean that the next academic generations need to suffer as well. It's about breaking that chain and creating something new where everybody will benefit from.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we said also that some people say, this is just part of the game. And we said, okay, why not to change the rules of this game? Yeah. So this is something ambitious, but we can try, right?
And you have to start somewhere, right? So
Yep.
maybe this is the start in Vegas. Okay. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
The final session was moderated by Elena, who's here with me. It was about good mentorship and finding mentors or being a mentor yourself. There was a little survey beforehand on Vuva about what is the most helpful thing being a researcher. And I think mentorship was right up there if it wasn't number one. So Elena, what were the findings or the overarching themes in your session?
Yeah, very interestingly, it goes along the lines of what Anna and Maria just already shared. It's all about being human, right? We're all human beings, and it plays out specifically in mentorship. I think Riedel put it in a beautiful way. He says like mentorship is equivalent to meaningful relationships, and I think we all long for that in certain ways. And when we enter mentorship relationships, actually we both take away something from it, both the mentee and the mentor. It doesn't always have to be transactional, and it can start from something very little, like just a connection. And sometimes maybe that is what you're looking for, is a connection and not necessarily a loaded mentorship institutionalized thing. I think that is something to keep in mind. Also, when we talked about a lot about like how do you actually find mentors, either when you don't have them in your immediate surrounding or the people that are there don't seem to be the right fit. It was all about clarity. Like what are you looking for to, like what are you looking for? What are you looking to have a mentor for? And then try to reach out to people that can cater your specific needs. And that also explains that you can have more than just, or you should have more than one mentor, because every mentor can only fulfill so many things for you. And specifically on where to find mentors, you can basically find them anywhere. And I think Tuan made a very wonderful example here. She said that one of her most important mentors is someone who became a friend of her, who is a restaurant owner. And she's an assistant professor at Boston University, so she is in academia, but talking to the restaurant owner on how she manages her team and how she gets the finances and all of that, for her is very inspiring on how to run her own academic team. So really the notion that I took away here is that mentors can be anywhere, and so look for them everywhere. And when you look for them and people are inspired, you want them to be a mentor, make it explicit why you want them to be a mentor. Like really tell them what inspires you to have this connection, and that makes it easy for people to say yes, because most of the time people feel very flattered when you ask them to be your mentor, because it tells them that you actually appreciate them for the way they are or the way they manage their career. That is what I took away. And overall, maybe when you are a mentor, and many of the people in our room were already, it is all about empowerment and all about transparency and honesty and mutual respect and clarity. That's the foundation and basis of a fruitful mentorship relationship. And if you manage to have one or many of those, you never know where it might lead to. Some of the speakers told us that their former mentors became their best friends or their co-founders. So really, I think that is what I took away. And the first step to really dabble into mentorship is to also just watch, listen, and observe, like Jeff put it very beautifully. That's a way to identify who are the people that inspire you the most.
Wonderful. Yeah, those were the themes I really kind of heard as well while dropping in on your session, like that a lot of the mentors became friends over a long time and relationships that outlive 40 years and more. Another thing I also heard was when you are a mentor, that you are invested in the goal of your mentee, right? And you don't secretly instill your own agenda, right? That might be sometimes the case for a PI postdoc relationship, where the PI maybe clearly has the objective of making the most out of the time the postdoc is in their lab. But so basically as a mentor, you should always have the agenda of the mentee in your mind and not your own. I found that very interesting. And Jeff also beautifully put into context how maybe some ingredients for a mentor-menteeship relationship: honesty, transparency, trust which is built over time, and of course communication, how you communicate. And like you said, if you ask people to become their mentor, usually they feel very flattered. Then the question I think was in the chat, so what happens if somebody doesn't feel flattered or doesn't want to become your mentor? Maybe that's first red little flag that is not a good mentor-mentee relationship, and you cannot force a meaningful relationship on somebody. So it has to be on mutual grounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that is the thing that cast your net wide maybe, and don't just rely on having this one person as a mentor, but like be open to find mentors in unexpected places.
Yeah.
And that way, also don't take it personally if someone doesn't want to be your mentor. Maybe that's not the right time in their life. Maybe they don't have time and it has nothing to do with your personal request. Be politely persistent, but like Martin just said, and I heard also in our session, is like you can't force people to be your friend, and it's equal to a mentorship relationship, or maybe as Jeff put it nicely, it's like a mentor relationship is a little bit like a courtship, right? So think about it that way. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's complicated, but if you put in enough effort, you can make it beautiful.
That's right. Okay. Thank you. And dear audience of these 3 consecutive sessions, I would now, after we had this share, would like to know from you, doesn't matter which session you were a part of, what insight from your session surprised you the most? Take the time to listen to the criticisms. You take the time, but don't let it affect you, right? That is very hard sometimes, right? Practice to overcome your shyness, finding mentors everywhere. I found that very inspiring, the story you shared about the restaurant owner. To my mind came the word beginner's mind, or fly on the wall perspective. Maybe somebody outside the system will ask you very different questions than somebody that is very close to you and inside the system. Anything else that surprised you the most? That agreeing to speaking English in a meeting counts as a favor to the person asking for it already. Wow. Thank you, Katharina.
Yeah, maybe one thing that I took, can I share?
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
I took away from the session is also the notion of like never assume, right? Like never assume that someone doesn't have the time to mentor you because whatever, ask about it, right? Maybe they are busy, maybe if it's your PI, they're busy getting new grants and they really put in time and effort and work that will play out in your favor. But in that moment, you don't know that. So always clarify and to get on the same page, and don't assume something that might not be true. Always ask.
Yes, because there's the saying, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So assuming sometimes is not a great idea depending on the context, right? And Mava, thank you for sharing red flags about asking mentorship from the wrong person. But you got to ask, right? You never know in advance who's the wrong person, right? That would be assuming. The importance about brave spaces, yes, beautifully put, safe and brave spaces. And you cannot bend the rules, but find the people who know how to use the rules in your favor. Yes, play a little with them. And when it comes to suffering in academia, let's just rewrite the rules altogether. I think this really brings us to the end of the recap of the 3 sessions. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe looking back on the 20 minutes we just now had all together here in this room, maybe one more question for the audience, which we always like to ask. By now you got the hack. What will you remember looking back on those 20 minutes we just now had? Also maybe from the overall conference, what will you remember from the opening session, the sessions you joined yesterday? In general, that would be very kind if you can again answer in the chat. Well, kudos to the GSO of putting this together, how necessary such conferences are. And that's always a good one. We are not alone and it's difficult. Yeah, that's great, right? It gives you comfort knowing that others are struggling too. And if that is the case and you have noted down some of those peers of the names, right? You still use the VUVA platform or follow up with them, right? To have peer mentorship, for example. Fit. Yes, I heard that a lot of the past 2 days. Position, whatever it is, it's always fit outperforms everything. Thank you, Julia, for the kudos. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, just be another human soul. Oh, yes. Thank you, Elaine. Beautifully put, right? We're all human. Yes, let's keep doing this and be persistent. There's more need for these conversations. Thanks for creating the space. Academia versus industries is and your choice. Absolutely. And it's not plan B. It's not. Believe in yourself. Yes, failure is part of the game. Remember the CV of failure 6 out of 7 times. Yes, how to adjust the CV when applying for a non-academic position, right? I heard a lot of storytelling along that line. Don't just write, hey, my DFG grant didn't get accepted. That's not so great storytelling. Be proactive. Yes, always. And remember, while you are doing this, be able to continue and never give up. Yeah, persistence. And there are kind, supportive junior group leaders out there who are willing to help and try their best to improve the scientific system. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for your thoughts in the chat. Thank you for your time, your interest, and your active participation. We really hope that you gain some beautiful insights today, but also yesterday. And without further ado, I actually want to hand it over to Anna for some final words.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for leading us through this conference so beautifully. That was brought a lot of joy also to me and hopefully also to all the attendees. Thank you for that. Yeah, thanks for attending. I hope you got something out of it. Hi, Jeff, who's also here for a little bit. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, please talk about it. Please spread the love. Share the hashtag tbh-conference. Talk about the GSO. Talk about what we're doing, get in touch with us. We're super grateful for that. And we're also here to help. So if there's anything we can do, don't hesitate to get in touch with us also after the conference and we can see what we do. Without further ado, enjoy your Friday evening or wherever you are. Maybe it's during the day. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend and all the best. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.